Good morning, everyone. What I've got here in this box is the MNT Reform laptop. This is a very exciting piece of open and user serviceable hardware, and I'm gonna go ahead and unbox it and see what we got. So let's start off by trying to cut this tape. And while I'm cutting the tape, I'll try to talk a little bit about why this thing is exciting. So this is a small batch piece of hardware made in Germany, designed specifically to have open source friendly hardware. So this can be run with almost completely open source drivers. And the way this is accomplished is by using almost the same chipset, possibly exactly the same chipset as Purism is using in the Librem 5 phone. So the packing peanuts are loud. Let me go ahead and try to get this out of here, preferably without spilling these peanuts everywhere. Oh, and what we have here is a box. I'm gonna put this box aside and see if there's anything else in the peanuts. Nope, it's just peanuts wonderfully packed around that box. So I'll get the peanuts out of the way, and then we'll bring the box back. All right, so here is the MNT Reform box itself, and it looks like I need to cut some more tape. And in this box, we have more peanuts. Yay! I'm hitting my camera stand here. So we have a notice talking about the big IRC complication recently. We have a gift wrapped box here. I'll figure out what that is in a second. We have another gift wrap thing. This feels like a power cord. I want to see if I can get to this laptop. Oh, more gift wrap stuff. This is beautifully packed. I want a laptop though. All right, here is the manual. This is a paper manual. And here in the paper manual, we have all kinds of good stuff. But the exciting thing about this manual is this part list. So if we go over to page 53, we have a part list. And this is like a classic manual for electronic equipment, where it says exactly what all the parts are, how they go together, things like how the bezel is mounted. And so if something goes wrong with this, we have all the information here necessary to actually repair this piece of equipment, which is not something that you normally get for laptops. All right, finally, we have a beautiful leather case here. I think it's vegan fake leather, but still, it feels leathery. All right, so that's everything that was in the main box. Let's pop this open and see what's inside. All right, so here is this laptop. Now, it's not a thin laptop, it's kind of thick, and it's not a huge laptop. I think it's only an 11-inch display. But to go with being only an 11-inch display, we get some interesting properties. We have a mechanical keyboard. That is amazing for a laptop keyboard. I think this is using the Cherry MX low profile switches. I'm not 100% sure. We could check in the manual to find out. But this is real mechanical key switches, not the same ones that you would have on a desktop keyboard, because those have a lot of key travel. But this still has more key travel than any laptop computer I've seen in years, if ever. It comes with a trackball installed by default with 5 buttons. I think these buttons are backlit in a way that is programmable. And the other exciting thing that's going on here is we can see through the bottom of the case. This is a piece of plastic, but this isn't using a normal laptop battery. Instead, it's using these 18650 cells, and these are LiPo Fe4, I think, lithium iron phosphate battery cells, which means that they have better properties for a sort of long-term use than traditional lithium-ion batteries. These will last for much more, many more charge-discharge cycles than a traditional laptop battery. And once they do go bad, we can just individually swap out the cells. That's one of the main things that's going on here that's making this laptop so thick. With that, let me go ahead and try to power this on and see if it actually works. How do you turn it on? That's not a button. Don't see any switches on the sides. All right, I'm clearly easily confused and I can't power this on, so I'll have to deal with that later. But I'm gonna put this away for a moment and see what's in all these nicely wrapped side boxes. First box, this feels like a power cable, and I feel almost bad tearing the wrapping paper. It's like a Christmas present. But, oh, we have, okay, this is like a standard power cable. So I bet one of these other ones, maybe this one, is going to have an adapter in it. And I didn't actually look at what size adapter we need. But again, it's so well wrapped I can't get my finger in there. And I lost my knife. So, fingernails it is. Ah, there we go. All right, I'll just open this like a small child and tear off all the paper. Yep, that's the other half of the AC adapter. And so this is going to plug in to some connector right there. So that makes sense. Two more wrapped things. This one is a PCIe SSD. Looks like I'm gonna get to install that myself, which is perfectly reasonable. And then we have the last little package. Dropping it everywhere. Still know what it is. You could probably look in the manual and it'll probably tell me, but oh, I bet this is the touchpad. So this can come either with the touchpad or the trackball. They installed the, and I ordered both. So they installed the trackball by default. I'm unlikely to actually install this touchpad, but I just wanted to get it in case it was useful for something. All right, so that's all I can do in the first pass. Here we have this exciting laptop computer. And I'll come back in a second once I've figured out how to turn it on. So I took a quick look at the manual and what else was in this box, and it turns out that, as one might expect with a repairable laptop computer, there is a little bit of assembly required after taking it out of the box. Now I got a bunch of things here. I got a SD card, and I think this comes with an operating system on it. I got this, which looks like some sort of Wi-Fi antenna. It probably goes with this Wi-Fi card. I'm not going to deal with those at all right now. I'll put those together later. And I already broke a Librem 5 by messing with Wi-Fi connectors, so I'm just gonna be really careful. I'm not gonna try to do that on camera. I got this PCI SSD. Again, I'm not gonna try to install that on camera, but what the manual says that I'm supposed to do is that I'm supposed to hook up the battery connectors. So we can see here that we have batteries. We can see here that there is a connector coming off the battery here with the yellow tape, another one here with the yellow tape. And if we go ahead and look at the manual, it says to connect the batteries, they connect to some connectors, which are here. Let me see if I can figure out where they go. So the battery connectors are here. So the battery connectors are right there next to that piece of yellow tape. So I have to unscrew this bottom piece, and plug in those connectors. I think I can do that successfully on camera. I got my screwdriver thing. This isn't even my good screwdriver thing, but it will probably work. And these appear to be Phillips. So let's guess Phillips 1. You should probably look in the manual. This is close enough that it turns the screws. They don't appear to be in there too tight. So let me hook this in. So while I'm trying to unscrew these, I'll talk a little bit about why this is exciting. So this laptop has almost completely open source drivers and firmware. As far as I know, the only piece of software that you don't get the source code for that you need to boot up and use this is the same problem that the Purism Librem 5 has, which is that there's a little tiny binary blob that you need for the DDR4 memory controller. And I think that's small enough that it's probably not a critical security issue if you're worried about software supply chain attacks, which is the thing this whole class of super open hardware, well, one of the things that this whole class of super open hardware helps with is that if absolutely everything is free and open source software, then all of that software can be inspected, audited, and you can do a manual reinstall of that software after building it yourself from source code, and then be sure, relatively sure. There's some things that you can't ever check with computer hardware, but a device like this is getting about as close as you can get to being a auditable piece of hardware. If you're running software on this computer and you've put in a little bit of effort to make sure that you haven't made security mistakes, you can be reasonably sure that there isn't unexpected software running on this thing. And for example, the Wi-Fi antenna over here isn't even installed by default. So if I don't connect this to the internet, then it is an air-gapped computer that is sort of theoretically safe from any sort of cyber attacks. But I'm not going to be doing any of that with this. I just want a relatively open computer to play with a bit, because I think the world would be better if this sort of equipment was more widely available. Having equipment where you can't really trust where it came from, or what's in the software, or any of that just seems like a bad way for the world to be. So I'd like to try to help the world be less that way. All right, let's see if we can plug this thing in. There's sort of two ways this can go. It looks like this way is the way that's mechanically going to be easiest. So, okay. The way that mechanically is easiest may not be the way that we're actually going to do this. So I'll try the other way. So you could also order this MNT Reform laptop as a kit and completely assemble it yourself. And as you can see here with me trying to plug in two connectors, there's a reason why I did not order it as a kit. This is like one of those USB cables where there's only two ways it can go. So clearly you have to try it 4 times. I got it. Click. Got this wire. This was nicely designed to have nice cable management by default, and in spite of that, I'm still managing to mess it up. So there's a dot on one side, and I think the dot goes down. I bet the dot goes down. Nope. All right, yeah, so, nope, that looks like it's fitting. I can't even see what's going on. If I tip it up, maybe I can do better. I think the dot goes down. So in conclusion, electronics are not my number one thing. Haha, I got it in. All right, so with the 2 battery things connected, and then I need to put the SD card in somewhere. Let's see if I can cheat and just look at the sides. So there's no SD card things there. We have 3 blue Ethernet connectors. That's sort of exciting, and HDMI out. Although I think you have to throw it into a different mode to be able to do multi-monitor with HDMI out. This looks like it's a full-size something. Is that a full-size SD connector? That might be a full-size SD connector. That would be equipment that I haven't seen in a while. So let's see if we can put this SD card in the wrong way. That will be fun. Oh, SD card is in. I think that was a full-size SD card connector. And now let's try turning this on. So I'm gonna flip it open. Oh, we have a little MNT Reform logo here. There is, this is running on the sort of lightweight coprocessor, not the main processor, so that gets to run even when this isn't turned on. And then if I remember correctly from the manual, I press circle key. Oh, the little screen tells me what all the options are. So if I press circle key and then 1, that's power on. So this thing is now booting, supposedly. Oh, there we go. So you get some Linuxes. I think that said Debian 11, which is the not quite released latest version of Debian. Should release in the next month or 2. And the manual said I could log in as, oh, I did something wrong. All right, I got this thing to boot. So I'm logged in as root, and it gave me some instructions, and I'm gonna follow them. It looks like Sway is the default sort of graphical environment. That's a tiling window manager that is actually pretty close to what I use normally. So it says add user, and then, all right, so I added a password. Next, doing the normal stuff. This keyboard layout's gonna take some getting used to. It's not a standard keyboard layout. There's a couple weird things going on. It feels slightly like I'm shifted right by about 1 letter, but I don't think so. I think this control and ... is about the width of a normal caps lock key. In any case, I'm having trouble hitting the space bars, but that's the sort of thing that with like slightly odd mechanical keyboard layouts takes some effort. Oh, I may have said earlier that this was Cherry MX switches. It's not, it's some sort of Kayla switches. In any case, figuring this out. Shift is there. Now, it says I should log out. I'll log in. And now that I've logged in as me, it gives me a bunch of instructions here, and it says that I can actually start a graphical environment just by typing stuff. The default graphical environment that's recommended here is Sway. So let's go ahead and start that up just by typing Sway here at the command line after logging in. So you actually get into graphical mode pretty quickly, and it gives a terminal window pop up with some instructions on how to do this. Now, in the recommendations here, it's talking about the super key. That is this MNT key over here. So I can go ahead and do stuff like open another terminal window by pressing MNT enter, and the second terminal window will pop up. If you've used a tiling window manager, this all makes perfect sense. The interesting thing that I'm seeing here, though, is that it looks like we've got a network configurator. So it says if I click net here on the title bar, it'll do network setup, and this is giving me some sort of network configuration thing. Let's go ahead and see. I hooked up the Wi-Fi card and the Wi-Fi antenna. I don't think I broke it in the process, which is sort of amazing. Let's go ahead and turn on Wi-Fi and see if it can see anything. All right, so here is the phone that I'm actually filming this thing on. I don't actually have real internet here, just phone internet, but we'll go ahead and connect to it. Type in a password. And it says that we're connected. And that means that if I go ahead and launch, oh, that's a neat launcher. Let's see if Chromium is installed on here. All right, so to launch a web browser, we can go ahead and press open the launcher, open up the Chromium web browser, and then we're just going to go to some website. So this was a crowdfunding campaign. So I'm just going to load crowdsupply.com and show that a modern website is able to load. This is slow not because of the laptop, but because we are tethered to the same phone that I'm filming on. But there we go. This is able to run a web browser. So that's a demonstration of basic graphical operation on this laptop. It seems to work. All right, another couple thoughts on this thing while I have it out. First, I'm not sure that I like the case. It's made out of nice materials and mostly feels good, but it's a little bit tight at the corners, so I don't know whether I'm going to actually want to use it. It fits the thing nicely, but it only fits the thing by itself. Trying to cram the power cables into it would be a little bit tight. All right, another interesting thing here is that I said this is a small batch piece of equipment. Well, it looks like this is so small patch that we have number 44 here. So that's sort of cool. I was able to install the Wi-Fi card, hook up the Wi-Fi connectors. I'm not sure the Wi-Fi connectors should really go there. They're on a sticky bit that looks like it's supposed to stick to something, but I didn't want to stick them to the case itself. And in the quick test I did, Wi-Fi seems to work like this, and it doesn't shake around too much. Overall, the build quality on this is very nice. It feels solid. It doesn't feel like it's going to break, even though this is, I think, a laser cut acrylic. It still doesn't feel like that's going to break, and the rest of this is some sort of aluminum probably. The custom keyboard here is pretty nice. It's set up so it only has 2 sizes of keycap, which made it easier for them to create their custom keycap set here. The switches are apparently, according to the manual, they are Kayla chalk brown key switches. And Kayla is supposedly a pretty good mechanical keyboard keycap brand, so that's great. The key travel, as I mentioned before, is pretty amazing for a laptop, and having a mechanical keyboard in a laptop is overall top quality.